Cool. Guess I could have done that another minute sooner, but this is fine. Oh, and I even had the video intro that I didn't add. That another minute. All right, and I hear our voices coming through, so we ready to kick this thing off?
Sure.
Cool deal. Welcome everybody to the Holon Network podcast for January 5th of 2023. This week I have joining me.
Hey, I'm Digital Tinker.
And I'm Gatorbite. Yo, Digital. Happy holidays, happy New Year, happy Christmas, Hanukkah, and all that jazz. How are you doing this week, my friend?
A little tired today. Got my booster shot a couple days ago and kind of hit me a little bit more than I thought it would. But
Ooh.
it seems to be letting up, so here's hoping.
Here's hoping for you, man. Hopefully you can rest and you start feeling fully up to par. Good deal. Have you been working on a bunch of different projects over the holiday break, or have you just kicked back and taken a little bit of a break?
A few things. The genealogy database I had been working on, I've opened it up to some family members to start editing. Of course, being family members, they already require tech support. They at least have not broken anything yet. They made some few minor edits to start out, and everything worked, so I went through and approved them.
Awesome.
And that, mostly working at the makerspace, trying to get more documentation up to date and sort everything out as we start to get reopened and get more people coming in.
Awesome. That's super exciting to hear, man. I will say, with COVID seeming to be rolling off, we've tried to have a couple awesome Holon hackerspace meetups, and then it started getting really cold and dark, so couldn't meet outside. So we are looking at renting a place for the next 6 months, trying it out, building folks back up, from moving it back from online only to physical in person. So kind of excited to see how that's going to roll, and lots of potential with that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the constant ongoing check mark that is the countdown for DEF CON, right? 216 days, 11 hours, 11 minutes, and 6 seconds, or something close to that. Got the hype train ready for that, so that should be fun. So I was working over the holiday break, except for Christmas itself. Got a couple days around that. And thankfully, first week was pretty hectic. A lot of people are trying to force in a changes into their production environment before Christmas break. And that usually doesn't put up for a good time. So that was interesting the first week. Second week, it was pretty quiet, which I'm thankful for. So I'm taking a couple weeks off. So I'm getting caught up on all sorts of projects. I've been going through and posting daily hacker tips to the Gatorbite channel, which has been fun, talking about so many different projects and just different tips and tricks. So that's been fun. Working on a couple alternate channels as well. So I'm having fun getting my creative juices refilled again, which is exciting, and getting some projects patched up. So look forward to talking more about that here in the future and showing more content online here starting this week. So, anything else that you want to jump into before we get into tonight's stories?
Nope, just found out something was broken.
Oh, okay. Is everything okay?
Oh, yeah. It's just my Discord bot. The countdown isn't working.
Aw, okay. Well, the nice thing is that we've got this nice countdown from anytime we're doing this on stream, where the waiting room / screen that'll pop up here now has a countdown timer for DEF CON 31. So, we've at least got that one backed up as another option. But with that, let's jump into the price for Bitcoin is currently $16,841.47. Gold per ounce is $1,844.20. Crude oil per barrel is 74.27. And I've got to say on this one, just for a half second, where I'm at in California, gas is usually high. I was thrilled to see it low and how low it's gotten in this last month and a half. It makes Gator happy. This is a good sign. Anyway, Dogecoin 0.07194 cents. Okay, going right into our cybersecurity infrastructure and security agency bulletins. Looks like it's actually a little bit old at this point. Do we want to skip over that since it's just covering December 19th? Since we got plenty of
No.
other stories, or do you want to jump in?
Yeah, we can skip over it. I was just looking down through real quick. I'm not seeing anything really jumping out.
You know
Your
what?
usual.
The reason why is because we needed to jump to the 2023 bulletin. Which, so,
Well, no. Would it come out then?
yep, it came out December 26th of 2022, but it's in the year of 23, which is a little bit weird. So we'll have to fix our notes to point to the right year now. Right off the top, it looks like there was a couple D-Link issues with the DIR 846 A1 firmware 100A43 was discovered to contain a command injection vulnerability via the LAN DHCPS static list parameter in the set IP MAC bind settings function. This ended up having a CVSS score of a 9.9, CVE of 2022 46641, and the follow-up to that, it also was discovered to contain a command injection vulnerability in the auto upgrade hour parameter of the auto upgrade info function. CVSS score of a 9.9, CVE of 2022 46642.
An issue was discovered in KSMBD in the Linux kernel 5.15 through 5.19 before 5.19.2. fs/ksmbd/smb2pdu.c has a use after free out of order, what the rest of that is, but OOPS for smb2 underscore tree underscore disconnect. That one's rated at 9.8 and CVE 2022 47939.
All right, scrolling down a little bit. This one's a big one, apparently. Description-wise, is JSON 5 is an extension to the popular JSON file format that aims to be easier to write and maintain by hand. The parse method of JSON 5 library before and includes version 2.2.1 does not restrict parsing of keys named underscore underscore proto underscore underscore, allowing specially crafted strings to pollute the prototype of the resulting object. This vulnerability pollutes the prototype of the object returned by JSON5.parse, and not the global objective prototype, which is the commonly understood definition of prototype pollution. However, polluting the prototype of a single object can have significant security impact for the application if the object is later used in trusted operations. This vulnerability could allow an attacker to set arbitrary and unexpected keys on the object returned from JSON5.parse. The actual impact will depend on how the application utilizes the returned object and how they filter unwanted keys, but could include denial of service, cross-site scripting, elevation of privileges, and in extreme classes, remote code execution. JSON5.parse should restrict parsing of underscore underscore proto underscore underscores key when parsing JSON strings to objects. As a point of reference, the JSON.parse method includes JavaScript ignores underscore underscore proto underscore underscore keys. Simply changing JSON5 parse to JSON.parse in the examples above mitigates this vulnerability. This vulnerability is patched in JSON5 version 2.2.2 and later. CVSS score of an 8.8, CVE of 2022 46175.
There's a couple more for the Linux kernel with the KSMBD. There's another one for an 8.8 as well as an 8.1, still related to the KSMBD. And don't know if we actually picked up that story for later, but that was a rather large one that came out over Christmas as a 10 out of 10. And patch cycle wasn't quite there yet, but should be out now, so make sure you patch your kernel.
Yeehaw. All right, that looks like that about rounds up the hive vulnerabilities. We want to move into a next area.
Sure.
All right. If you guys are also looking for additional vulnerability databases, you can go check out the National Vulnerability Database by NIST. We've also got a link to the osv.dev. And I think we're into our first article for tonight, which is This Week in Vulnerabilities. This one is being reported from Ars Technica, with hundreds of WordPress sites infected by recently discovered backdoor. People who use WordPress should check their site for unpatched plugins, as reported on January 4th of 2023. Malware exploits unpatched vulnerabilities of 30 different WordPress plugins has infected hundreds, if not thousands of sites, may have been active use for years, according to a write-up published last week. The Linux-based malware installs a backdoor that caused infected sites to redirect visitors to malicious sites. Researchers from the security firm Dr. Webb said. It also is able to disable event logging, go into standby mode, and shut itself down. It gets installed by exploiting already patched vulnerabilities and plugins that website owners use to add functionality like live chat or metrics reporting to the core WordPress content management system. If sites use outdated versions such as add-ons lacking critical fixes, the targeted web pages are injected with malicious JavaScript. As a result, when users click on any area of the attacked page, they are redirected to another site. Searches such as this one indicate that more than 1,300 sites contain JavaScript that powers the backdoor, and it's possible that some of those sites have removed the malicious code since the last scan, but still, it provides an indication of the reach of the malware. The plugins exploited include a long list of them that you'll want to go check our show notes for, and it goes from WordPress live chat support, WordPress Yazoo related posts, Yellow Pencil, there's quite a few. So go check that out. There's more than what we should go through and just list verbally, or we'll just be going on. The JavaScript contains a link to a variety of malicious domains, including lobbydesires.com, letsmakeparty3.ga, deliverygoodstrategies.com, GabriellaLovesCats.com, CSSDigestCollect.com, CelonCollectFastTracks.com, and CountTrackStatistics.com. So there are screenshots in the article that show the JavaScript appears in this page source of the affected sites. And the researchers found that two versions of the backdoors, which was linux.backdoor.wordpressexploit.1 and linux.backdoor.wordpressexploit.2. They said the malware may have been in use for 3 years. WordPress plugins have long been common means for infecting sites. While the security of the main application is fairly robust, many plugins are riddled with vulnerabilities that can lead to infections. Criminals use infected sites to redirect visitors to sites that are used for phishing, ad fraud, and distributing malware. People running WordPress sites should ensure that they're using the most current version of their main software as well as any plugins. They should prioritize updating of any plugins listed above. You want to take the next article?
Let's see. The intimate photos of a person taken by a Roomba vacuum were leaked online. So it turns out that in order to have a Roomba be successful, iRobot has a training period where they will have a Roomba that will navigate an area, and they will use third-party services or contractors to review what it's looking at and determine if it's an obstacle like a chair or a table, and report that back to Trans AI. One of those gig workers broke a non-disclosure agreement and posted a picture of a woman on a toilet to social media. Not a great look.
No, it is not.
So they found out that MIT Tech also has a number of these pictures, not the one from the bathroom, but showing what exactly happens in these cases where they're training the AI. iRobot claims that the Roombas that were used in these cases have a bright green label that says video recording in progress. Kind of curious how likely that is or how much they're telling people that are using these things, but you might want to lock your Roomba out of the bathroom the next time you go.
Yeah, I mean, I have considered picking up a smart vacuum for this purpose, not for the camera remote work of it, but hey, because
Mm-hmm.
it's making a robot go through
Big.
and do a chore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I will say about the same time frame that I was considering it, my wife and I had watched a episode of the new X Files where it was completely quiet. There was no talking in the entire episode. It was just the two main characters interacting with technology current day and showing if they turned it just a little bit evil, how they could 3D print firearms and have these things corner them and then grab knives. And it was a very, we'll say, entertaining episode, but also very freaking. So, nah.
We outlawed that. Robots can't carry guns. I mean, just ignore the explosive that's strapped to it. That's not an issue.
Right. I think San Francisco and San Franciscans ended up backtracing on that a little bit,
They
right?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, they realized their mistake after that and went back on it.
Again, okay. Absolutely nuts, man. Interesting stuff. So there's no way for us to be able to say, hey, which ones are, if this is also happening in yours, other than the green label that says that video recording is in progress. Unless you're going through and like blocking that or setting that up on its own separate network in your home so you can find out what's being sent back to iRobot would be the only way for you to catch this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yet another reason to make sure that your IoT devices are on their own separate network and that you're watching what they're talking to. Or just block it. Which is what I'm more curious about.
Then you just watch them run into a wall repeatedly.
That was the question. It can't learn because it can't contact the mothership.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Our next article then in This Week in Privacy or Lack Thereof, and we've actually talked about articles like this in the past as well. This is being reported from Ars Technica, with black man wrongfully jailed for a week after facial recognition error, report says. This was reported on January 4th of 2023. Lawyers say police didn't check the man's height, weight, or the mole on his face. Police in Louisiana reportedly relied on an incorrect facial recognition match to secure warrants to arrest a black man for thefts he did not commit. Randall Reed, of 28, was in jail for almost a week after the false match led to his arrest, according to the report published on Monday on NOLA.com, the website of the Times, Picayune, and New Orleans Advocate newspaper. Reed told the newspaper that he had never even been to Louisiana. Local police pulled over Reed on November 25th as he drove on the Interstate 20 to DeKalb County, Georgia, headed to the late Thanksgiving celebration with his mother, he said. They told me I had a warrant out for Jefferson Parish. I said, "What is it, Jefferson Parish?" Reed says, "I have never been to Louisiana a day in my life." Then they told me it was for theft. So not only have I not been to Louisiana, I also don't steal. Reed was booked in the DeKalb County Jail as a fugitive, but was let go on December 1st, as the jail official said. Reed's lawyer, Tommy Caligora, said that Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office detective tactfully admitted that the error and rescinded the warrant, the report said. I think they realized that they went out on a limb making an arrest based on a face. Police could have checked his height and his weight. Describing his time in jail, Reed said that he was not eating, not sleeping. He was thinking about these charges, not doing anything because I didn't know what was really going on the whole time, and I didn't even try to make the right ID. The case reportedly began with a June 2022 theft of more than $10,000 worth of Chanel and Louis Vuitton purses in Mederoni, Louisiana. Boy, I'm really showing I'm not from the South with these names, so I apologize if I'm butchering this. So they said that it hadn't been hard to determine that Reed wasn't the culprit, who was reportedly caught on camera in June entering numbers from a stolen credit card at the register in the store. A mole on Reed's face was one of the differences that ultimately forced police to release him. They also estimated a 40 pounds difference between Reed and the purse thief that they saw in the surveillance footage. And the culprit, unlike Reed, had flabby arms. Police could have checked his height and his weight or made an effort to speak to him or asked to walk through his house to look for evidence, and he would have complied. So it's not clear exactly what facial recognition was used in this case. In previous cases, Jefferson Parish Sheriff, their office requested facial recognition analysis through the Louisiana State Analytics and Fusion Exchange in Baton Rouge, which uses Clearview AI and MorphoTrack systems, the report says. Clearview software, we've talked about in the past in this podcast, compares faces to pictures on social media and many other resources. Our platform is powered by facial recognition technology, including the largest known database of 30 plus billion facial recognition sources from public-only web sources, including news media, mugshot websites, public social media, and other open sources. So the sheriff's office denied Paper's request for a warrant. So when the report indicates that the wrong facial recognition led to the 2 warrants for Reed's arrest, the first was obtained by Jefferson Parish Sheriff Office, and the second was for a separate crime being investigated by Baton Rouge Police. Baton Rouge Police Department detective then adopted JPSO's identification of Reed to secure an arrest warrant, alleging he was among 3 men involved in another luxury purse theft the same week at the shop on Jefferson Highway, the court record shows. The report says that Lee Lop Intu's office did not respond to requests for information and denied a formal request for the July 18 arrest warrant for Reed and copies of policies or purchased relative of facial recognition, citing an ongoing investigation. So, privacy concerns and evidence of bias in facial recognition systems have fueled a movement to ban government use of this technology. Facial recognition software is particularly bad at recognizing African Americans and other ethnic minorities, women, and young people, often misidentifying or failing to identify them, desperately impacting certain groups, the Electronics Frontier Foundation says. Anything to add on that, or are we ready to move on?
Nope, but the next story is just as apt because a mom chaperoning a Girl Scout troop says facial recognition technology at a Rockettes show flagged she was blacklisted and security wouldn't let her in. A mom who went to see the famed Rockettes perform at New York Radio City Music Hall with her daughter and their child's Girl Scout troop kicked out when facial recognition technology flagged her as being blacklisted. Kelly Conlon, a New Jersey attorney, was booted from the theater last month and didn't get to see the Christmas spectacular show. I was just a mom taking my daughter to see a Christmas show, Conlon told NBC New York, which first reported on the ordeal on Monday. The mom said that she ultimately waited outside for the duration of the 90-minute show, which is attended by her daughter, fellow Girl Scouts, and other mothers. It was embarrassing. It was mortifying, Conlon told the news outlet. Conlon, associate the personal injury law firm Davis, Sapenstein and Solomon, said that security guards at the venue zoned in on her after she went through metal detector. It was pretty simultaneous, I think, to me. Going through the metal detector, and I heard over on intercom or loudspeaker, Conlon said. I heard them say, woman with long dark hair and gray scarf. Conlon added, they knew my name before I told them. They knew the firm I was associated with before I told them, and they told me I was not allowed to be there. The mother was asked to provide identification and said she was told that our facial recognition picked you up. Signage inside the Radio City Music Hall alerts patrons to the venue uses a variety of security measures, including facial recognition, which uses biometric identifier information. The law firm where Conlon works is involved in active litigation against a restaurant affiliated with Madison Square Garden Entertainment, the owner of the venue. Conlon said that she was barred from entering the venue even though she doesn't practice law in New York and isn't working on any legal cases against MSG Entertainment.
So I had seen this article pop up during the Christmas and holiday breaks, and it's like, ooh, okay, barring somebody, especially a practicing attorney from someplace using facial recognition, this won't come back around to bite anybody in the butt, right? I don't know if I lost digital or if I lost internet connectivity. I lost digital. Cool. And welcome back, digital.
I thought it was your end, and apparently it was mine.
All good. Take it away.
Where was I?
You just said that they had gone through and said that she was barred from entering the venue, even though she doesn't practice law in New York.
Okay. And isn't working on any legal case against MSG Entertainment.
Right.
Okay, so I wasn't that far beyond that. So MSG responded with, while we understand this policy is disappointing to some, we cannot ignore the fact that litigation creates an inherently adversarial environment. Apparently, they were letters sent that said that they would be denied entry if anyone attended the performances. So kind of two layers there of, one, barring someone just because of where they work. Kind of a discrimination thing there.
Right.
And then two, using facial recognition to be able to do that, because that means they would have had to take the picture from somewhere to then train the system to know who it was, or be tapping into another database to be able to identify anyone.
Which is nuts. And this won't have any negative feedback whatsoever by denying an attorney, a practicing attorney. So, I mean, I'm glad her daughter got to see it. This is going to be and set an interesting standard moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she doesn't practice in New York, so they'll have to find another attorney to represent her in that area.
Right. But I'm sure she knows the rules and the laws, although it'll vary slightly from state to state. It still will be an interesting thing.
So then the question is, do you think there is a database out there, like Clearview AI, that all these camera systems can tap into that includes your name and where you work?
So my personal opinion, digital, is there are multiple out there, and people pay to get access to them. It's not like anybody could just go through and scrape the internet and store that information to where you could go through and make your own, right? I mean, you need huge tracts of land to be able to host all that information.
It's not like companies wouldn't give each other access to all that data to be able to record all of it.
No, right, exactly. Well, I mean, if we're gonna go down that route, why don't we talk about Meta's to pay $725 million to settle Cambridge Analytica lawsuit? Talking about data harvested by Cambridge Analytica was used for political campaigns. This is being reported by Ars Technica. Let's see. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, will pay $725 million to settle the class action lawsuit filed back in 2018. And the lawsuit came in the wake of Facebook's revelation that it had improperly shared data on 87 million users with Cambridge Analytica, a British political consultancy tied to the former President Donald Trump's election campaign. Cambridge Analytica got its access to Facebook's user data via an app developed by a third party. While only around 270,000 Facebook account holders used This Is Your Digital Life app, the app's permissions allowed it to access data on those users' friends. And the end result was the dataset covering 87 million users that developer had then passed on to the Cambridge Analytica in the contravention of Facebook's terms of service. The vast majority of those in the dataset had not given the consultancy firm permission to access their data. The unauthorized data sharing came to light in 2018 when reporters from the New York Times and The Observer informed Facebook that Cambridge Analytica still had copies of the data, even though the UK-based firm had promised the social media back in 2015 that the data would be deleted. Cambridge Analytica filed for bankruptcy in May of 2018 after determining it was no longer viable to continue operating the business. The lawsuit against Meta continued on, and other instances of problematic data sharing practices by Facebook were added to the complaint. Indeed, the lawsuit accused Facebook of giving numerous third parties access to their Facebook content and information without their consent, and alleged that Facebook failed to adequately monitor third parties' access to the use of that information. Meta is admitting to no wrongdoings or illegal activities by settling the case. Instead, the company says the $725 million agreement, which must still be approved by a judge, is in the best interest of our community and shareholders, the Meta spokesperson told Reuters. Up to 280 million Facebook users are covered by this settlement, which means that the $725 million is going to be spread awfully thin after the plaintiff's attorney are going to take their 25% cut. So, I mean, okay, just this theorizing here just for a minute, right? Is that $2 per person? Because if it's 25% cut, that's not very much. How much is your privacy and your security worth, digital?
I think Amazon pays more for your data than that.
Wasn't it $5 from Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. All right, and you had already gone through and covered this. We've got another article on the MSG defends facial recognition to kick out lawyers of the Rockets show. So we'll just put those both together. Then we're into our next section, which is This Week in Security. Take it away, Digital.
So quite a bit's happened in the past few weeks. LastPass, who was designed to make you more secure, they had yet another breach. This time it was a little bit worse, though, because not only did they get unencrypted metadata, including things like names, web addresses, also encrypted passwords. Don't need to worry about that.
This is fine.
Yeah, so quite a few issues. One of the big ones is, hey, two-factor authentication. That saves us, right? No, because this is a copy of all those that they don't need the two-factor authentication to access. It's encrypted, right? LastPass rolled their own encryption. And now that isn't for everyone. That's more older accounts. Newer accounts don't have to worry as much. But it is something to be concerned about. And you might want to start changing your password. The stolen data includes the following unencrypted data: company names, end user names, billing addresses, telephone numbers, email addresses, IP addresses which customers use to access LastPass, and website URLs from your password vault. It also included the encrypted customer data, including website usernames and passwords, secure notes, and form-filled data, which potentially includes credit cards. Just everything.
The other one that I had seen that I don't see in the notes here either is that the encrypted notes weren't encrypted either, Digital.
Oh, yeah, the third link I've got there says those were encrypted. So it might not be as up to date as I thought it was.
So I will say I started with LastPass, and back in the early days, and after the last 10 years, they've been breached 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say the second time I'm like, hey, they got breached, but they properly disclosed it, so I'm going to trust these blokes to go through since they're doing it quote-unquote properly at the time, and I'll start this whole password manager thing. Once they got bought out, I ended up switching over to Bitwarden. The export process was super simple, never looked back. but I got a lot of my other family members on LastPass because it was easy onboarding. But there's only one or two of them still left on LastPass, and it's like, ay ay ay, this hurts.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of lucky. I've only just recently used it because that's what our work uses.
Okay,
I've been on KeyPass for all my personal stuff. So instead of maybe 50 accounts, I only have to do about 20.
okay.
Although I will say LastPass is really annoying about reused passwords
Mm-hmm.
because it's all SAML based. So it's the same password. I can't change them. It's just different sites that all use the same backend for authentication. And I can't figure out how to get it to actually disable.
Oh, that sucks. So what's our solution that we suggest for folks who are using LastPass at this point, Digital?
So I did see there's Steve Gibson who does the Security Now podcast and is pretty well known in the security community. He recommended 1Password or Bitwarden if you want to continue to go with the hosted options. I forget which one it was, but they came out talking about a lot of these technical details and comparing it to their own decisions where they had done more traditional, but again, it's PR for their own company. Be like, hey, they suck, come to us.
Mm-hmm.
So those would be your hosted options. And then, of course, KeyPass if you want to be able to host your own database and keep it secure where you feel it's secure.
Absolutely. So I use Keybase XC has been my one that I've gone to for most of my work side of the house. And
That's KeyPass, right? Not Keybase, the
yep,
PGP.
yep,
Yep.
yep. Thanks. Absolutely. And if you're technical enough, you've also got the ability to do a self-hosted Bitwarden if you wanted to go that route as well. So you can either pay for, use the free, or go self-hosted. So you got a couple options there.
I think the paid for is like $2 a month there.
Yeah,
So it's
well worth
fairly
it.
cheap.
I think for the family plan that I'm on, I think it's dirt cheap. So well worth it.
That was one of the other things I saw him mention is he might look into doing a like GoFundMe or crowd raising thing to audit Bitwarden since they're fully open source.
Mm. I think they have been in the past. And I don't think they're doing it on a yearly basis, but I've seen it typically on like every other year.
Yeah, he was suggesting like having a fully like outside, similar to how TrueCrypt did theirs.
Gotcha. Yep. Cool deal. Get some experts' eyes on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
Cool. This one was new to me from a Bleeping Computer. On January 5th, there was a report saying that Slack's private GitHub code repositories were stolen over the holidays. So Slack suffered a security incident over the holidays affecting some of the private GitHub code repositories. The immensely popular Salesforce-owned instant messaging app is used by an estimated 18 million users at workplaces and digital communities around the world. They're saying the customer data is not affected. Bleeping Computer had come across security incident notice issued by Slack on December 31st, saying that the incident involves threat actors gaining access to Slack's externally hosted GitHub repositories via a limited number of Slack employees' tokens were stolen. While some of Slack's private code repositories were breached, Slack's primary codebase and customer data remain unaffected, according to the company. The wording from the notice published on New Year's Eve was on December 29th of 2022. We are notified of suspicious activity on our GitHub account. Upon investigation, we discovered that a limited number of Slack employees' tokens were stolen and misused to gain access to our externally hosted GitHub repositories. Our investigation also revealed that the threat actors downloaded private code repositories on December 27th. No downloaded repositories contained customer data means to access customer data or Slack's primary codebase. Slack has since invalidated the stolen tokens and says that investigating potential impact to customers, and at this time there is no indication of sensitive areas of Slack's environment, including production, were accessed. Out of caution, however, the company has rotated the relevant secrets. Based on currently available information, the unauthorized access did not result from the vulnerability inherent to Slack, and we will continue to investigate and monitor for further exposure. Ironically, the security update, speaking of Slack taking your security, privacy, and transparency very seriously, and yet it still comes with some caveats. For starters, this news doesn't appear in the company's international news blog site alongside their other articles at this time of writing. Additionally, contrary to Slack's earlier blog post, this update, when accessed in some regions, i.e., the UK, it's marked with a no index, an HTML feature that is used to exclude a web page from the search engine results, thereby making it harder to discover the page. Bleeping Computer further observed that this meta tag containing the no index attribute was itself placed towards the bottom within the page's HTML code. It's an elongated line that overflows without breaking, and this means those viewing source code like us wouldn't readily get to see this buried tag unless they actively searched in the code for it. Per conversation, HTML head and meta tags are typically placed at the top of the page. We noticed, though, that Google had already indexed the US advisory published without the tag. Other techniques employed by businesses looking to limit the visibility of the uncanny news may include the use of geofencing and tailoring the robot.txt file. Such as techniques including the use of no index is important announcements are typically frowned upon. In some cases, though, no index attributes may be erroneously applied with the aim to achieving generating canonical links. Last year, InfoSec reporter that editor Zach Whittaker called out LastPass and GoTo for employing similar tactics with LastPass's 2022 security breach disclosure. In August of 2022, Slack reset users' passwords after accidentally exposing the password hashes in a separate incident. Unsurprising, the particular note was also marked with a no index in both US and international versions. And in 2019, Slack announced that it had reset passwords for about 1% of its impacted by the 2015 data breach, who additionally met a set criteria. The good news with regards to most recent security updates is that no action is needed to be taken by customers for now. All right. Digital, you're up.
So, again, over the break, a hospital was hit by some ransomware. Had quite a few issues. And then out of the woodwork comes the ransomware gang apologizing for infecting a hospital network. One of their affiliates went against their code of conduct and unleashed the ransomware on the hospital, even though their terms of service says don't do that. So, the Lockbit gang apologized and released the decryptor for free out of the kindness of their hearts.
What's your
So
take on that? Go ahead.
Bleeping Computer has confirmed that this file is available for free and claims to be a Linux VMware ESXi decryptor. As there are no additional Windows decryptors, it indicates that the attacker could only encrypt virtual machines on the hospital network. Lockbit operation runs as a ransomware as a service, where the operator maintains the encryptors and websites, and the operation's affiliates or members breach victims' networks, steal data, and encrypt devices. Lockbit keeps 20% of all ransom payments.
That's an interesting take, man. It's the right thing to do, but it's like,
I forget which chat was it, but I replied with the from Wreck-It Ralph. You may be a bad guy, but that doesn't mean you're a bad guy.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, I don't think this is the first time either. There's been a few cases in the past where they've released decryptors for particularly sensitive areas that the gang was opposed to the affiliate doing something like this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, I think that wraps it up for that section. So we've got a couple miscellaneous stories. These are just headliners that I wanted to go through and bring to people's attention, not necessarily deep diving into each one of these, but from the Register on January 5th, there was an article saying that Dell is said to be planning purge of Chinese chips from production by 2024. Meanwhile, U.S. is ratcheting up restrictions, expanding definitions of what counts as cutting edge tech, says analysts. So Dell looks to stop using chips from China in its production by 2024, according to the reports. The move appears to be part of the wider effort to shift its supply chains away from the country in response to the ongoing tensions between China and the US. PC and tech infrastructure maker has told suppliers to significantly reduce the volume of components sourced from China in its products, including those that were made by non-Chinese manufacturers, which cites anonymous sources with direct knowledge of the matter. Uh, those sources claim that Dell is aiming to eliminate all chips from manufacturing inside of China from its products by the close of next year. However, IKEA Asia reports that Dell declined to comment in details in its diversification plans. We asked Dell if they could confirm these reports and that it is indeed a strategy the company is pursuing. The company told the Register that it's continuously exploring its supply chain options and best meet customer and partner requirements, and added that China is an important market where we have team members and customers to serve, and we continuously explore supply chain diversification across the globe. The reported move could be seen as a direct result of the growing concerns in the industry over Washington's policies regarding China and access to the advanced computer technology, which it says wants to keep out of the hands of the Chinese military. The U.S. government put in place the new export controls last year to halt the sale, and without an export license to China, of all of its chips that could be used for AI and HPC applications, as well as blocking the supply of any equipment that could be used to manufacture logic chips, DRAM, or flash memory using advanced production nodes. However, the U.S. sanctions have become a set of moving goalposts, as Washington keeps adding new restrictions and widening what is covered by them. So, in response, not surprised that companies may come to view that having any Chinese involvement in their supply chains is too risky. There is more in the article, but you can check out the show notes for more of that. You want to touch on this next one, Digital?
Amazon expands layoffs from 10,000 to 18,000 jobs as stock price keeps falling. CEO blames uncertain economy and Amazon rapid hiring in previous years. Uncertain economy, when you're one of the top stocks on the market, I think you're feeding your own issues there.
Right.
So they do say that this will be mostly retail workers and their PXT organization, which is their HR, or People Experience and Technology Solutions.
Interesting. Okay.
Wall Street Journal reported noted 18,000 layoffs concentrated in the corporate ranks and represent roughly 5% of the element of its workforce, 1.2% overall tally of 1.5 million employees as of September. Amazon's stock price was down about 2% this morning and has fallen nearly 50% in the past 12 months. These changes will help us pursue our long-term opportunities with a stronger cost structure. However, I'm also optimistic we'll be incentive, resourceful, and scrappy in this time when we're not hiring expansively and eliminating some roles, Jassy said. I believe that's code word for you're working overtime.
That's what it sounded like to me. Anytime
Layoffs
they say scrappy, man, that's not a good sign.
Yeah. It's like trying to get startup culture without being a startup.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The layoffs that began in November initially targeted about 10,000 jobs and included cuts to the hardware division that makes products including Echo, Alexa, Fire, and Kindle. Amazon said in an October 2022 filing that it had 1.54 million employees worldwide, including full-time and part-time workers, but excluding contractors and temporary personnel. The headcount of 1.54 million was an increase from 1.34 million in mid-2021. So yeah, I think it's a self-defeating cycle of, hey, the economy looks like it's going down, we need to lay off people, which then makes it look like the economy's going down and causing stocks to go down, which feeds right back into itself.
Right. Wait, are you suggesting that there's market manipulation?
Mm, I don't know if I'd put it that way,
Okay.
but
I'm pretty sure
hey, it's
Mark Russinovich, the maker of the sys, the Windows sys tools, the sys suite. Wow, I'm blanking on it now. He ended up writing like 3 book series, and which one of
Mhm.
them was the topic of microtransactions with the stock market on the super hyper trading, where
Mhm.
they demonstrated the manipulation of the market. But anyway, sorry, random connected thought there.
Yeah, it looks like most of the article is repeating what's already been said, so
Okay.
we'll just have to keep seeing how the economy goes and if it'll crash like a few people are predicting.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about crashes and predicting, Mastodon. There are the pros and the cons of moving beyond big tech gatekeepers from Ars Technica. So the standards-based interoperability makes a comeback, sort of. As Elon Musk's Category 5 tweet storm continues, the once obscure Mastodon social network has been gaining over 1,000 new refugees per hour every hour, bringing its user count to about 8 million. Joining as a user is pretty easy, although more than enough ex-Twitters are happy finding that Mastodon instance via the joinmastodon.org, getting a list of handles for their Twitter friends to move via Move to Dawn, and carrying on as before. What the new converts may not realize is that Mastodon just the just the most prominent node as much broader movement to change the nature of the web. The whole idea being that we're supposed to have the core goal of decentralization. Mastodon and its kin are federated, meaning that you are welcome to put up a server at home base for your friends and colleagues for an instance, and users of all instances can communicate with yours. The most common metaphor is email, where Yahoo, uchicago.edu, and another site all host local connections to users, and anyone can send messages to anyone else via standard messaging protocols. With cosmic abbreviations and new federation from freely communicating instances, it's called the Fediverse. I will say, over the holiday break, there was some very interesting shenanigans going on where if people had Mastodon in or Mastodon link in a tweet, they were getting banned, or when you would click on the link, it would go through and say that it was to a malicious site. Other folks were getting just straight up banned by mentioning Mastodon. So it got to the point where some people, even if they had their Mastodon handle in their profile on Twitter, you would get kicked as well. So that was interesting to see that happening and unfolding over a couple days, and then some of those rules being rolled back. It it seems like there's a lot of shaking and moving and shaking there at this point.
Mhm.
So not just the whole the free speech idea of, hey, you can go talk about whatever you want to on wherever you want to and whatnot, and then just straight up blocking people for mentioning other places you can go talk was a weird move in my opinion.
I mean, you got that, and the Twitter poll that he was going to step down didn't like the results. Like, oh wait, somebody suggested only paid members should be able to vote. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been an interesting, I think they say shit show is
Mhm.
how they say it. Do you want to talk about this next article?
Uh, yeah. So the Twitter rival Mastodon, just talking about that, rejects funding to preserve nonprofit status. The open source microblogging site has seen a surge of interest, and particularly over Twitter. So it was founded in 2019 by German software developer Eugene Rocco. Has seen a surge in users since Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion in October, amid concerns over the billionaire's running of the social media platform. He told the Financial Times he had received offers from more than 5 US-based investors to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in backed product, following its fast growth. But he said the platform's nonprofit status was untouchable, adding that Mastodon's independence and the choice of moderation style across its servers were part of its attraction. Mastodon will not turn into everything you hate about Twitter, said Roko. The fact that it can be sold to a controversial billionaire, the fact that it can be shut down, go bankrupt, and so on, is the difference in paradigm between the platforms. In the blog post in response, Roko said that this was a stark reminder that centralized platforms can impose arbitrary and unfair limits on what you can say and can't say, adding that monthly active users of Mastodon increased from 300,000 to 2.5 million between October and November. The daily downloads of Mastodon rose from 6,000 on October 27th, the day Musk acquired Twitter, to a peak of 243,000 on November 18th, according to data from Sensor Tower. Usage of other smaller rival sites, such as Tumblr, has also rocketed. It wouldn't be Tumblr's other decision that would cause that, no.
No. It wouldn't be, because they can now show more skin and other things on Tumblr.
Yeah, that wasn't a terrible decision for a site that contained mostly that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The college videos with talking about what do we do on our site? Oh God, no! This was supposed to be pictures of other. What is that? No. Just don't eat Tide Pods and don't watch the Tide Pod video. You're fine. This is fine. Okay. Fun for everyone. Hey, Digital, did you find any cool tools that you want to talk about?
I did, actually. There's a Kickstarter for the Pi KVM v4.
Ooh.
Next generation Raspberry Pi based KVM over IP. So we've talked about this a few times, and this might be your best way of getting a Raspberry Pi 4. Of course, I believe these are the CM4 modules, so it's not a standard one. But that does give them the ability to break out some more features and do a little bit more than what they can with the standard form factor. They currently have 20 days to go, and right now they have a decent amount at a $225 level for the V4 Mini, and then $315 for the V4 Plus. So the difference between those is the V Mini is for those who need a simple and budget solution with all essential features, and the Plus is for professionals who want to get all the power of the solution and the ability to extend it with additional features. So I think one of the things, like the Mini is missing the ATX control, but it'll still capture 1920 by 1200 at 60 Hertz with audio and deliver it to your browser using WebRTC. Transfer your mouse and keyboard actions to the remote PC. Take full control of the remote PC's power, remote reset or reboot using the actual hardware reset power. So no, it does have the ATX. Access to all configuration settings of a remote computer, like tweaking UEFI BIOS settings to do some overclocking. Booted a controlled PC using any OS you need using mass storage device emulation. It is now a fanless design with a passive heatsink. Includes a locator LED simplifying your device search, and improved power consumption in idle mode of just 2.67 watts.
Very nice.
And then the Plus version has extra storage via internal USB 3.0, upgraded powering options. It's equipped with a DC barrel connector and is compatible with a wide range of power supplies from 8 volt to 24 volt, and features reverse polarity protection. So really nice whenever you have a bunch of random plugs around that you're not going to fry your boards.
Nobody's ever done that, right, Digital?
Mm-hmm. The micro SD card locker, you can't access the card with no case assembly, and a Kensington security slot, so your Pi KVM stays where it's supposed to be. It also has an extra HDMI output, which can be set up according to your needs, as well as an advanced cooling solution, which includes a custom heatsink, radial fan, a manifold shroud, and intelligent fan control with monitoring with RPM, fan failures, etc.
That's pretty slick, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got links for that as of time of recording. Looks like it's got 20 days to go, so you still have some time. Looks like they're looking to reach the goal by January 26th of 2023.
With an estimated delivery in March of 2023.
That's a pretty fast turnaround for a Kickstarter.
I think they have all the design done, and they may have already started production, so this is a little bit more of a pre-order.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Especially with it being a V4. They've been around the ropes a few times.
Yes, this is true. All right. Well, moving on to cool tools that I found this week. So I've talked about the Intel Techniques site and podcast by Michael Bizel. He has gone through and published a new 10th edition of the OSINT Techniques. 36 chapters, over 260,000 words, over 500 pages, and the major changes and summaries were that this edition presents 6 new chapters unavailable with previous versions, including those on broadcast streams, application programming interfaces, an entire new section containing the 4 chapters about data leaks, data breaches, stealer logs, and ransomware, and very excited to release these chapters and believe that they introduce the future of OSINT analysis. They've also updated other things to keep current. They usually update this every couple years, so I've got a handful of versions of them in the Hackerspace library, and for folks needing to become more private online, this is a fantastic resource. He in the past has gone through and done ebook versions of it, but that has not worked out well, so you can buy the physical book from Amazon directly. If you're really paranoid and you want to get a Bitcoin purchase, you can go through their direct site and purchase it with Bitcoin. And the other cool thing that I came across when looking for stories for this week was, is it gonna? Right, here we go. It's a fossjobs.net. So if you're looking to try to get a job in the open source community, there are lots of needs for that, but somebody has gone through and made this fossjobs.net site, so you can go through and look for different openings across the world, which is kind of cool. With that, Digital, what projects you've been working on that you want to talk about, or things that you're looking forward to start working on?
Like I mentioned in the beginning, the genealogy database I've almost finished up and handed it over to let some others put in more data that I don't have. Apparently I was missing quite a bit that weren't in the file.
Nice.
Other than that, I've mostly been working with the local hackerspace and trying to get some things back up and running post-pandemic, like aggregate all the documentation that's been spread out all over the place into a central place so everyone can find it.
Beautiful. What type of system are you guys using for your library?
So we're using Media. There's some stuff documented on Trello that there's quite a few people would see would rather die.
Okay.
They use Google Drive for a lot of the important documents so that it's accessible. They've got the file server in the space itself. And then just the general arcane knowledge that gets passed around in a group like that.
Right. Very cool. So, projects wise on my side of the house, the kids got an eagle's nest, so we got to go through and build that. They were actually helping us build the entire thing, so that was cool experience wise for them to use more power tools, drilling, and putting stuff together. Took us about 7 days working at it. It wasn't full-time days, but we worked at it off and on as weather permitted and such. So that's been fun. Going through and printing off more 3D prints of the dual and tri-color silk PLA, which has been a blast. Let's see, painted some minis because we got into some D&D for Christmas gifts, which was fun. Looking around the room, man, I usually have my 12 buckets of projects, and a few of them are actually starting to get empty now because I'm working through them. So creating content on that, I've got a couple different YouTube channels that I'm throwing stuff onto, and documenting to where it's also going to be published on an upcoming site. So I'm getting kind of excited. I'm getting those creative juices flowing again. I've walked away from work for a little bit, which is great. So I've got a little bit more time about. I've I'm going back to work on the 16th, so a little bit more time to get some more stuff done. Anything else that you want to cover for tonight?
Nope, I think that's everything I had for this week.
Cool deal. With that, thanks, folks, for joining in, listening in with our new location, doing this on Twitter. This will be edited and posted live to our podcast tonight. So if you're interested in the audio version, you'll be able to listen to that. Otherwise, you'll see us same bat time, same bat channel next week. You can find me on Twitter and on Mastodon at Gator_Byte.
I'm at digital_tinker on Twitter and defcon.social.
Woot woot! All right, with that, we'll see you next week.
See you then.
Bye!